Amazing. So yeah, I've got a few familiar faces here, Gareth.
Let's have a little look.
Super.
Yeah,
Great to see. Great to see some familiar names there. A few vinyl recorders.
you can kind of find out market share, can't you, for the note takers nowadays by, what gets
Yeah,
involved in the webinars. Looks
yeah,
like Vinyl have got it.
yeah. Fireflies sneaking in there. Hugh, like Hugh the recorder. That's quite a good one. I'm liking Hugh. Hopefully everyone can hear us. And if someone, yeah, Tim can hear us, which is great. So yeah, I'll give everyone just a couple of seconds to kind of jump in. So last minute, well, you're all right, Tim, because you've got to see that you can jump in. So yeah, I wish I lived by the seaside right now. Perfect, perfect. So let's make a start. Bit of a change of a location for me. I had a nice grand office with a big screen, but the Wi-Fi was awful. I'm now in a kitchen with some washing up liquid. So yeah, hopefully the rest of it will go perfectly. We'll now have no more technical kind of issues. And it seems pretty good, Gareth.
Yep, all good, all good. Yeah, yeah. No,
Perfect. So let's jump in. What we're going to go through today is the background in terms of what we've built together and why we've come together to kind of make this work, what the integration does, and kind of give you a live demo. As we go through, if you've got any kind of questions, stick them in the chat and we'll jump in and we'll try and answer them there and then as we go through. It's designed to be interactive. It's designed to kind of get you excited. And I would say at the very, very front, this is the start. And I know that Gareth, you are very, very kind of responsive to your kind of users and building based on their feedback. And I'd like to think that our users of Socket would say exactly the same.
certainly, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a starting point. It's a great starting point, but we know that we want to go further based on what people want us to do.
Yeah. So Gareth, tell me a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah, so thanks for having me, John. Really appreciate it. I'm an accountant by background, been in practice since 2003 up until a few years ago. Jumped across the software about 5 years ago now. We've built Xenon Connect, which we'll come into a bit more later, which is a data quality tool that plugs into the four main ledgers. And yeah, it's really looking at improving the quality of people in practice and the data of their clients behind the scenes in a more efficient way than perhaps they were previously doing.
Love it, love it, and I love the fact that you are solving one of your pains. And I think this is great that when you kind of see people that are solving their own pains, and then suddenly the power of that escalating, and then suddenly you kind of change roles. So that's kind of fantastic. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jonathan Gaunt. Similar background to Gareth. I run my own, or I still run my own accounting practice, and then out of that, with a few of my kind of friends, we've started building software. So yeah, we're now building kind of Socket, and I'll go through that in a couple of minutes in terms of what is Socket. But yeah, we just want to solve problems, and I think it's kind of this has happened relatively kind of quickly. I think, Gareth, we've had conversations for a period of time.
Let's be honest, John, I've been pestering you for years.
Yeah, you've been pestering me for years. We've been busy doing other things. And then I think this is Fab. I walked away from Fab and it's like, right, we have to do something with Xenon Connect. So thank you for badgering me. And yeah, hopefully this is the start of something quite exciting.
Definitely.
So, Gareth, do you want to give people a little bit of an overview in terms of Xenon Connect?
Yeah, sure. So what you can see in front of you is the core of Xenon Connect. It's the data quality review software. It plugs into the ledger. So QuickBooks, Free Agent, Xero, and Sage as well, Business Cloud. It pulls in all the bookkeeping data every time it syncs. And it runs that bookkeeping data through 29 specific bookkeeping checks, looking to identify potential issues with the bookkeeping that then presents to you and your team for your review. If you decide something needs fixing, you can often push back corrections to the ledger directly from Xenon. But it's that all-encompassing peace of mind that in respect of these specific 29 issues, nothing's getting through the net in terms of the bookkeeping. From a manager's point of view, it's a way of having that oversight of whoever's done the bookkeeping, whether it be the trainee beneath them or whether it be the client themselves. This data that's going out the door in terms of the end reports has been cleaned essentially before it goes out. So it's increasing the quality of the actual reporting that's going out. That's the main elements of Xenon, which is the data quality. And we'll come on to sort of the transaction side and things later as well.
Perfect. So let's look at. Oh, oh.
Yeah, in terms of why we built it, I mean, there's three angles really, and these correspond with the three main use cases for Xenon. So for prospects, let's say you're looking at taking on a new client, and they say, okay, well, we've got great bookkeeping, we do everything, we reconcile everything, there's no problems at all. Xenon Connect is there to plug in at that stage as well to say, well, actually, in reality, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, the quality of your bookkeeping isn't up to scratch. But I'm not going to say it's rubbish. What I'm going to do is give you a report to say, these are the specific problems we've got with your bookkeeping. What do you want to do about it? And how much is that going to cost for us to do that if you want us to as a firm? And then the middle section is for clients that do their existing bookkeeping and they don't want to hand off the bookkeeping to you internally. Having a way of pushing back that bookkeeping to say, actually, this bookkeeping process isn't complete yet. I'm not going to start your VAT return review or your year-end accounts until you finish the bookkeeping. Here's a tangible report to say these things need fixing before I do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay more. And then the final and probably the main core use of Xenon is for the internal bookkeeping or accounting team to use to review their own work or that of others that have done the work before them as well.
Yeah, and I think it's like people will be kind of sitting there and going, "Oh, a prospect won't give me access to it," but it's kind of like, have you asked? Because as soon as we started kind of asking of going, okay, can we have visibility of your kind of accounts? It's great to be able to kind of look at in there. And I think it's also so much of our relationships are built on trust. So if we can give them trust very, very early on, then I think then that's the whole kind of bit that, yeah, they will open up a little bit more. You can define value. And I think it's great that you're almost turning this grey bit in the middle. So where you're talking about clients of, well, I can't start work until the health score is of a certain level. I think it's great to be able to turn those grey bits into black and white, or just ask the question of going, look, you might want to do it. I'll do it for you, but there's a fee associated with it. And it's probably the thing that a lot of people are giving away and are doing for free. So I think it's that whole kind of bit of it's a great tool to help contribute to your bottom line. And I think in a lot of cases, it's just about working smarter rather than harder.
Sure.
So in terms of where Socket excels, it's about taking your kind of pricing. So it's about you having that kind of consistency of pricing. And in my mind, it's about moving from time and materials towards the value pricing. And it's about reflecting some of the complexity. So foreign bank accounts, number of transactions, like what is it why did that job take particularly longer? And you'll see that there's a bit of a circle here, and that's the whole kind of purpose of we want to be constantly kind of learning, and then our pricing kind of evolves. We capture the leads, we create proposals, we do the letter engagement at the same time. We've brought in forms, billing management, and then the key bit that I want to kind of focus on today is like the price monitoring. So how do you collect that information from different places to then kind of turn around and go, actually, that proposal is still valid, but there's also then an element where you might be turning around and going, scope's changed, price needs to change. And I'll also give you a little bit of a kind of an insight of, we know that Xero have put their prices up yesterday. How can we make it a little bit easier for you? So we'll cover that as well today. So that's a quick overview of kind of Socket and why we built it. it's about actually how do we bring together kind of apps. So in my mind, there's some exceptional tools out there, and it's not about everyone doing everything. It's about almost like the best in class, and how do we bring that together? So why are we talking to Gareth? Because we think Xenon Connect is fantastic. Why are we speaking to Zama? Because we think it's fantastic. Why are we speaking to other practice management tools like FY, Carbon, Sodium? Well, it's because we think they're great tools, and we think it's about actually how do we build that great ecosystem. So yeah, it's really then that bit of also how do we make sure that we get paid for the brilliant work that we do. And what have we integrated? Well, I guess it's Gareth, you've got the transaction numbers, you've got a degree of the kind of the complexity, you know the health score. Wouldn't that be great for us to be able to kind of bring that into Socket so that we can do something with it? And I guess it's at the moment we're pulling data, but who knows where this goes? And I think this is almost a bit of pushing back to everyone. Tell us what you're doing, and then we can start to work together to make it even more kind of like seamless.
Definitely. I mean, the data exists, doesn't it? Exists there. It's in the ledgers. It's somewhere in the ledgers, in the bookkeeping ledgers. So
Yeah,
by surfacing that and arranging it in a way that makes sense for pricing and then passing that through to a price monitoring tool, it just gets the information in a format it's needed to be to make those pricing decisions quickly and accurately.
yeah. And again, this is why you've been quite keen for a period of time. We've always said yes, we want to kind of do it. Of we need to know, and I think this is the I hear so often almost that kind of bit of, oh yeah, we did a proposal at the start of the relationship and it's never changed. And if you dig down even more, the point you made a couple of slides ago of it's great from an onboarding tool, they didn't even validate some of those kind of volumes at the very, very beginning.
Mm. I've got a horror story regarding that actually, John, from when I started in my own practice. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah,
So one of my first clients, myself and my wife walked around Wrexham town centre and gave out flyers, loads of different businesses. We picked up one which was a florist and a greengrocer combined. They weren't on any bookkeeping package at all. And I did a meeting with them, was keen to get them involved, keen to get them on board. Okay, how many transactions you got? Well, about 150 a month. Okay, fine, great. Yeah, that's I can see, you've got your bank statements here. So the bank account they gave, the paper statements, had a look through that. Yeah, it looks there or thereabouts 100, 150 per month sort of thing. Great. Okay, so what services do you want? Bookkeeping, VAT, payroll, year-end accounts, CT 600. Great. Okay, I'm keen to get you on board. Let's start off with £200 a month. Okay, fab, whatever. Those are the days. And then you start doing the work, you realize how many extra bank accounts they've got that they just haven't provided. Now, obviously, there was no bookkeeping package they were using. Believe it or not, the previous advisor was doing this pen and paper literally to keep the books in order. So I didn't have that view of what was going on at the very start.
yeah,
And then because I'd sort of signed up to that price, and I didn't want to annoy that client when they came on board. Obviously, they were happy going forward, because it was a really cheap price. And I didn't have the tools to actually monitor any changes in scope and the actual price itself. We got it on a desktop package, which is the best at the time, sort of thing, the desktop version of that. But even then, it didn't surface the information I needed, even when we got it on desktop. So it didn't give me transaction counts easily, didn't give me complexity metrics for sure. So I was running blind, and as the business was growing as well, I think it was literally, I'm ashamed to say, 5 years before I increased the fee. 5 years, you
yeah.
know.
No. And I guess that's not like uncommon. I've got similar ones where it's like I was getting paid a reasonable amount of money and the turnover kept on increasing. And I'm like, well, I can't go back and ask for more, can I? And at some point it slowed down and then the client came back and asked me for a price reduction. And I was absolutely devastated because I absorbed all of the kind of the growth by building processes, getting smarter. and then as soon as it slowed down, they came back, and it was almost that bit of the trust had kind of broken down. And I'm sure you've got the classic ones of the cost of onboarding, of almost that kind of exercise of you're tidying things up. It takes ages, and you do that as part of business as usual. So you never ever get paid for it. So yeah, I think we've all been there. And I'm sure everyone on the call could have kind of similar stories in terms of why why they need to have tools like Socket and Xenon within their kind of practice.
Sure.
So let's jump in then and start to look at what we're bringing across. So yeah, do you want to run through this, Gareth, in terms of what you're sharing with us at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to show Zen at this point, or should we do that a bit later?
Let's do that. Let's do that in a little bit. Let's just
Yeah, so in terms of the metrics that get sent across currently, so what we've opened up in our API that Socket are connecting to the Xenon Connect Health Score. So that's the
yep,
data quality review. We've also got the annual revenue, so and the monthly revenue as well. So in terms of, okay, well, is this revenue increasing from month to month, and how are we keeping track of that? So we're reporting that information through the API. Number of sales invoices per month, number of supplier bills per month, bank statement lines per month, and overall total transaction count per month. So these are very high level metrics, but
yep.
nonetheless, they are the core of how we deal with pricing.
Yeah. And I think this is also then where it comes back to this is what we're doing now, but this is where we also then want to be hearing from you of where do you kind of want to take it. And I think there's going to be some interesting kind of conversations here. And if I can tell a nice story around like the accurate proposal. So we'll show you price monitoring in a moment. And I ran my own business through that. And I saw a massive upshift in terms of the revenue that I could be charging. And I got quite excited. And when you dig down into it, you look at a particular client and it's like, oh, there's a massive opportunity there because the number of transactions that were going through was, let's say it was 100 on the proposal, but it was 500 in terms of the information that we've been pulled from the source back. When you start speaking to the team, you get the response back, oh, well, we're doing that because they're e-commerce transactions and they're 5 times quicker than the next one. So you then kind of like head in hands a little bit in terms of, well, there's a couple of things here we need to do. We perhaps then need to look at some of the granularity. So I think we're going to allude that there's some opportunities here that we want to kind of draw out. Volumes we've talked about. I think also getting up to speed we've kind of talked about. Should we dive in and get into demo time?
Sure. Okay.
Fantastic.
Well,
So I will stop sharing my screen.
great stuff. I'll start with Xenon. So the first part of the process is getting the metrics in place, isn't it? Essentially from the bookkeeping
Yes.
package. So what we're looking at now is the main core of Xenon Connect. I'll just briefly mention this. This is the data quality review that I was mentioning before, whereby you got these 29 specific bookkeeping checks. There's common bookkeeping errors that when you're sifting through a nominal ledger, you know what these errors are when you spot them. The problem is the time it takes to actually surface those errors. So it wraps all these 29 different checks that are shown on the sidebar here up into this total issue count, which then helps to form the basis of the health score for the particular period. So just to give some examples of what checks we go through. So things like bank balance checks to make sure that the bookkeeping ledger ties in with the bank statement itself, that sort of thing for the period. Duplicate supplier bill detection as well, detecting all those. More niche checks like for limited companies and opening balance checks. So coming back to looking at prospects data as well, it's how much time would we have, and would we have the time with prospects to review whether their balance sheet matches what was submitted to Companies House last time? We probably just wouldn't do it at that stage. It's something we do as we get going with the work. In Xenon, we've got a check that does that. It compares essentially the equity figure in the balance sheet for the statutory accounts with the bookkeeping package at the same date and looks to show potential issues, the most recently posted transactions that may be causing that difference there. So maybe it's a separate bookkeeper to the accounting firm, and there's that miscommunication about who's posting the opening balance journal adjustments and that sort of thing. It services that sort of error. The bill direct check looks for instances whereby you have a supplier bill, unpaid or draft on the ledger. And when someone's reconciled the bank, probably the client clicking the OK button in the ledger there on the bank feed,
Yep.
they've cash coded it as a spend item straight to the ledger, whereby they should have allocated against the bill. So they've essentially duplicated it there. So it highlights those. Then we have those common period end tidy up jobs that we tend to do, whether it be management accounts or year end. This one here looks for low value fixed asset addition transactions. So why be capitalizing a bit of stationery for 60 quid? Let's set our threshold to £200 by default, but you can change that. And let's make sure that anything that goes into an additions nominal on the balance sheet gets pushed back to a different account code in Xero in this example, in the P&L potentially. Click Save Changes, that updates that. So it's a two-way sync of data. You can push back corrections where possible to the bookkeeping ledger as well.
Okay.
And then the final one I'll mention is just our latest check. It's called undocumented bills. This one looks at every supplier bill in the ledger, currently only Xero, and it looks to check if there's an attachment against that particular supplier bill. So it's been created from the actual source documentation. If it hasn't been, it highlights it here, and you can drag and drop the attachment there, and it uploads it against that supplier bill in Xero straight away behind the scenes.
Nice. And you talked earlier, Gareth, about almost this ability of plug and play and creating a report.
Yeah, sure. So it's literally, depending on the ledger, it's 4 or 5 clicks to get a client connected to Xenon.
Okay.
And that's just the authentication process with the bookkeeping package itself that you'll be used to with other apps as well. So you go through that process, you get to this page within about 20, 25 minutes, depending on the size of the client the first time, that initial sync. And then you can download a PDF report straight away with your brand to say, okay, these are the problems. What do you want to do about it as a client or for prospects? We found these issues. Let's get a package for you to get you sorted with these things.
Okay.
Shall I move on to the transaction count side of things, John, which will be a nice segue into Socket?
Please. I'm gonna show people how that initial creation might be a really nice one, is to create a project within Socket as well. So yeah, I think seeing that PDF is a really nice visual.
Yeah, sure. So because we pull in all the transactions from the bookkeeping ledgers, because we need to do that full review of the data quality, that means we also have sight of the transaction counts and turnover levels and bookkeeping complexity metrics behind the scenes, which we've arranged on this activity page here for this one same specific client, Xero organization in this case. So you've got transaction count with a split by transaction type, the ability to actually drill down into the specifics of those transactions within Xenon here, which you can then produce as a chart to say, okay, your metrics are going up. We need to think about pricing, or obviously you go into Socket to do that side of things. You've got the same sort of thing for turnover as well, to measure changes in turnover over periods. And then we've got bookkeeping complexity metrics. So this is something that obviously in the future we're looking, can we expand to push this data through to Socket as well, amongst other things based on feedback. But things like how many bank accounts require reconciliation, how many customers and suppliers have been used during the period. You mentioned multi-currency before, John. How many active currencies are there in a period for that particular client? How many P&L codes and balance sheet codes have been used? And then how many payments have been made to employees during the period, which essentially will help you get that gist of how many pay slips there are for a period as well.
Yeah.
Again, showing that visually. So that's the Xenon side. And so nothing's changed here on the Xenon side. This is what we've had, in sort of recent years, we've had this, we've expanded on it. Behind the scenes is where we've opened up our API, and that's what Socket are pulling the data from in respect of a lot of these metrics that we're showing here.
Yeah, and I guess that's the whole thing in terms of, we've started simple, but actually if there's a need to kind of surface more, then that's the bit where it's almost like on both sides, Gareth, if you can open it up and extend it to the API, great, we can grab it, and then we can start to do some interesting things with that.
Definitely.
So let me jump in then, and I'm going to show from a Socket side of things how we could join this process up. So hopefully you can all see my
Yeah,
screen.
that's coming through.
I'm just going to move a couple of things out the side. And so what I'm going to do is technically you could come in, you could create a new client, but for the purpose of this, I'm going to use an existing client and we're going to use the classic Demo Company UK. So the way that this would work with a company to house integration, it would bring back the various people. I'm assuming that Barry White is the owner of Demo Company kind of UK. We can go through, can select which team member. We've got the letter of engagement. But what we've also done here is we've also pulled back the kind of health score. And I tried quite hard to make a rubbish score, but I didn't do very well at it. So I started throwing loads of transactions in there. I wanted to be a 40 or a 45, but I couldn't quite work out how to nail the system. So you can go through, you've also got alignment fees, planned start dates. So the next bit is then where it starts to kind of get interesting. So we can come in and what you'll see straight away is we've configured it in the background so that for the number of sales invoices, it's already kind of pulled that through and it's suggesting that there are 24 that we've got from Xenon. And so what we can see here is it's in this kind of banding. And this could be the bit where actually if you knew certain things, you could put a higher one. But what we're going to do is we're going to select that. We're going to come down, same sort of thing from a bills and receipts perspective. We can select that. Reconciling the bank, 30. So interestingly here, it hasn't selected it, but that's because my pricing isn't kind of properly kind of configured. So again, it's a really nice way of being able to kind of spot what's going on. So we're going to come through, we're going to select some of the headline things, the annual turnover. So that's great from an annual accounts perspective. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to throw in there a couple of extras. So that's all kind of building through. What I could also do as well, I could also then copy this. So this could be simple. We've got the complex. And what we could choose to do on this complex is we could have improve your health score. And so you could then literally kind of come in here and you could do the whole blah, blah, blah in terms of what you were going to do. And then you can start to kind of scope it out if you wanted to. So this was, I reckon, about £1,500 worth of work to fix it. I'm going to put in there a plus or minus 20%. So if I look at that, what it's done is it's given me a range in terms of that overall kind of cost. So we can go through, we can customize it a little bit further. We can add a practice brochure. We can do all of that great stuff. But in terms of then what we're sending to the client, we've got the overall proposal with the health scores that are kind of included. And then we could also see in this instance here, we could also then have the narrative of what's going on and we can add extras in there as well. So that's kind of like the happy path. And you could see that that's going to be a really nice experience for that new client. We can even do some magical things of using a bit of generative AI. So if you are using those vinyl meeting recorders and Firefly, what was the other one? Eric or
Hugh, I
Hugh?
think.
And if Hugh, you're listening, you could also then kind of jump in and we could absolutely use the AI transcripts of almost that bit of kind of seeding. And yeah, if that brings in volumes as well, then that's even more kind of like magical. So that's the kind of the happy path for a new proposal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump in and I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to jump down to price monitoring. So the concept of price monitoring is you build all of these kind of proposals, and over time, things may have changed. So what we want to do is we want to be able to kind of surface where those changes are and be able to do some clever things with it. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to just look at the Xero subscription. So I'm going to upload this. And this can absolutely work for any type of kind of CSV file. And what we're going to do is we're going to run this analysis. And what it's done in the background, this file had three different elements to it. And so we can see that I'm getting billed from Xero for a take that, but it looks like it's in our system of take this. So what I can do is I can literally go through and I can save that. So that's kind of then remembered it, and it kind of then looks at it. It's a difference there of £11 kind of 50. We can look at Artsy Beaver and we can see that we've been charged for Xero for £47, but we haven't got a proposal in place. So it's that bit of starting to spot some of those differences. Now, some of the things that we should be doing are things like annual kind of price increases. So I'm going to come and I'm going to look at my pricing menu. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in here and I am going to bulk adjust my pricing. Inflation's pretty high at the moment, so I'm going to go by 10%. So I'm going to run that all the way through. And what I can do is I can then almost switch certain elements off. So let's assume that Xero haven't put their prices up. So I'm going to take those as out of scope. I'm going to save that as a draft. And what I could then do is I could come into the proposal and I could do a bulk adjustment. So what that's going to do is that's going to adjust everyone's price based on the current volumes. But what I want to do is I want to jump back to monitoring. I'm coming up to analyzing the price. I'm going to come and click this cheeky little one here, which is client metrics that are live. I'm going to click on the settings. And so what I can do now is I can actually then go through and I can map either automatically, or if I want to, I can do manual. And I'm literally then just going through them one by one and saying, so here we're bringing back bank statement lines. Which driver within socket does that relate to? So we can map that all through. I'm comfortable with that. And now what I can do is I'm going to run that analysis. So this is the client that we have a historic kind of proposal for, and I can then jump into this. And so what we're able to do here is we're then able to kind of go through and we're able to look at where there are pricing differences that we need to kind of adjust the price for. So here we can see that the annual turnover when we did the proposal was 250,000 to 500,000. We can then see that the current turnover from Xenon is over that £500,000 point. So what it should be doing is we then should be applying that change of £25 because that's the next category up. So it becomes very, very kind of simple of you being able to apply all of those changes. So I just want to run back because I don't. Yeah, no, that's cool. So I'm going to run that. And then what I can do here is like, I come back into here. I can then just jump straight in and I can adjust the price. And what I've got is I've got a couple of ways of doing that. I can either do a minor adjustment or I can do a full renewal. I'm going to jump in, do that minor adjustment. So again, we've got all the details. It's all mapped out as it was previously, and it will go through and it will then adjust those. You can then just jump in, adjust the prices, select that. If you want to then add things or change things from a scope perspective, and then what you'll see on this next page is you can then start to see all of the changes that have been made. So again, turnover is changed. We can see new services, and then what gets sent to the client then is the whole kind of introduction, and we can then just start to see those changes. And if we wanted to, we can turn off any of these kind of values. So it's a very, very kind of simple way of kind of spotting those changes, but then also making those changes and applying them and sending that proposal out to a client. And again, this is exactly the same way that you can do things in bulk. So those price changes from zero, you can absolutely change your pricing, and then you can run through that bulk adjustment, and it will send a very simple kind of proposal out to all of your clients.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because I mean, not having this system, it's so difficult to keep track of all those different elements. I mean, I know people that use Socket that have got sort of dozens of metrics that they flow through in there to determine their pricing. Having the ability to do that quickly
Yeah.
compared to the alternative of actually, let's get the spreadsheet out again. Let's type in the transaction count. Let's type in how many currencies and so on, whatever it may be. By the time you've done that process, you have to reprice them again because it's, months down the line by the time you finished it. And doing that at scale for all your clients is just impossible, isn't it, in a timely manner?
Yeah, and I think there's also this bit of once you get into the rhythm of it. So I'm a big fan of almost like how do we create rhythms in terms of what we do. And I think there's been this period where it's been too hard, so you then just leave it for a year. So you do an annual review, but actually 12 months is quite a bit of time for businesses to kind of change. And you're just getting squeezed, you're working harder and harder, and you're not necessarily getting any kind of value or anything back from it.
Yeah. And relating to the admin, Sarah's just asked in chat, can you simply connect our Xenon Connect account to Socket for all the clients in one go, or do you have to do each client one by one?
Easy, one connection. So effectively, like if they're live and active in Xenon Connect, you can then just literally bring them straight in, and they will map across those kind of clients within Socket. So you can then go through and build those proposals using the live metrics from kind of day one.
Amazing.
So yeah, hopefully that's got you kind of excited. I think it's that whole kind of thing of keep us kind of aware of what you're doing. And when you're aware of what we know what you're doing, we're always kind of keen to start thinking about what can we do to make things kind of easier and smarter for you, because actually we want to look after you and make sure you get paid for the work you do.
And I guess a good way of monitoring what needs to be improved in the connection that we've got so far is that if people find that they're adding manual lines for things, for metrics, where they have to type in things manually,
Yeah.
then make a note of those and let us know about it, because that's something that if it exists in the bookkeeping package, we can surface and send through to Socket for them to build it on their side.
Yeah, and I think it's like that's the bit of there is so much knowledge within the ledger. Part of it is just that bit of okay, how do you do it? And I think that's the fun bit. Like the fun bit is almost like the problem solving of actually how can we do this at scale? And if you can do it for one, then you can do it for 101. The last bit I wanted to touch on was really around the kind of the four triggers of pricing. So we talked about the inflation and the base price kind of changing. We talked about scope expansion. So again, one of the things that I'm a big fan of is before starting work, almost checking into that proposal to see is it part of scope. And like I've got some real kind of like great stories of the team now turning around and not doing something because it's not in scope. Or the bit that you made mention of where does the year-end accounts start and bookkeeping kind of finish. And I think we've probably got all instances whereby the clients turn around to you, often in a rush, can you do my year-end accounts? And it's like, but you haven't reconciled your bank yet.
Yeah, and having reporting that can, first of all, instantly alert you about that, and
Yeah.
then produce a report that you can, so that you can produce it quickly, that you can easily communicate the issues without it taking half a day to produce is massive, isn't it?
And I guess there's an example there, perhaps, Gareth, of almost like how you can then be proactive as well. Because I think this is often the thing of being almost like proactive, of turning around to someone and saying, do you know what, Gareth, we can't start your year-end accounts until. And it can even be the bit of just checking in, is everything all right? Or do you want me to do that for you? I just think there's a reason to pick up a phone and have a conversation with someone can be really, really powerful and open up kind of opportunities, but actually even just to kind of check in to make sure that those clients are all right.
Yeah,
Be-
and I think, yeah, I think what put me off doing that in the past because I knew how long it'd take to get that information together to have that conversation with them. So you just leave it until after the year end or the management accounts period or whatever it may be, and then have a conversation when you do that big review. Whereas if we're incrementally doing it because we've got that information to hand throughout the year, it builds our relationship with the client as well as actually making sure we're being paid fairly, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think the volume-based pricing is the one we kind of we picked up on. And then I think the complexity creep, where you were kind of expanding that, and it's things like foreign transactions. Number of new suppliers is a really interesting one as well, because I guess it is almost that bit of, well, what's the additional work? Oh, if you're paying as well, I need to get a sort code and account number. That's extra work. It's also another element of kind of risk, etc. So yeah, I think when you start to look at it, there's some different kind of levels, but it's really nice to kind of see how the two tools can work together to make it a little bit more seamless for everyone.
It's exciting.
Indeed. So I know we've had a couple of questions as we've gone through. Opportunity for anyone to ask any questions. Can't see any more come in.
I think you showed Mark's question about the showing how the detailed drivers can be monitored um, within Socket. I think that's what you went through, isn't it? After the
Yeah,
comment was made.
yeah, yeah. So if people want to find out more, where can they find out more, Gareth, from a Xenon Connect perspective?
Sure. So I'll pop three links, if I may, John, in the
Yeah,
chat. One is how you can create a free partner account. So every bookkeeper and accounting firm can get started for free. They can add the partner accounts. They can connect one organization of their choice for as long as they want to really try out the system. So there's no financial risk at all, just a bit of your time to try it out. Second link is if you want to book a demo in, or one-on-one or one-to-many with your team with Xenon. And then the third one is, and I know that we're both hot on this, John, implementation call,
yeah.
giving away our time essentially for free to make sure that people are getting the most out of both our systems. So that last link is there is how to book in on the Xenon side of things, the book in training at any point in time.
Perfect, perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump across to the Socket website and kind of show people the very much the same sort of links. So from the main kind of Socket page, you can head up to the top right to sign up, and you'll get a 14-day trial to take it for a road test. Again, we've got this book a call, and this book a call is not only for a demo, it's also that bit of helping you get started. We are very much kind of open to investing time to help you get it started. And ZeroCon, you also going to ZeroCon?
Definitely. Yeah, we'll be there.
Amazing. And we are there as well. So yeah, if you head in there in a couple of weeks' time, hang by, say hello to Gareth and stop at the sockets and maybe get some socks. So if there's no more questions, we'll leave it there. Just to let you know, we will send you a recording tomorrow. So if you've got any kind of questions that come to mind afterwards, then reach out and we'd love to hear from you. But no, Gareth, thanks for your time and
Thank you for having me.
thank you for pestering me. And hopefully this is the start of something much, much bigger. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks a lot, John.
Cheers.